Okay, let's dive right in. We're talking about an energy emergency that's unfolding at lightning speed. And when I say emergency, I mean it's being called the most severe in modern history. These aren't just whispers, folks. The warnings are coming from the very top.
And listen, that is not an exaggeration. You know, when a giant like Goldman Sachs starts using language that strong, you absolutely have to sit up and pay attention. We're not talking about a simple blip in the market here. No, this is a fundamental threat to the entire global energy supply.
All right, so just how big of a deal is this supply shock really? Well, to get a sense of the scale, we need to take a quick look back at some of the worst energy crises we've ever seen.
And this is where it gets, well, staggering. The head of the International Energy Agency is basically saying, hey, remember the oil crisis of the 70s and that crazy energy crisis in 2022? Yeah, take both of those, mash them together, and that's what we're looking at right now. I mean, wow.
And look, this isn't something that's maybe going to happen down the road. The impact is here right now. In just the last month alone, oil prices have shot up by over 40%. We're seeing Brent crude sitting stubbornly over $100 a barrel, and a price like that, well, it sends immediate shockwaves through the whole global economy.
So where is all this coming from? What's the epicenter of this whole crisis? It all boils down to one single geographic choke point. And this isn't just any old shipping route. It's one of the most critical and vulnerable on the entire planet.
We're talking about the Strait of Hormuz. The best way to picture it? Think of it like a tiny, tiny bottleneck. Now imagine a massive amount of the world's energy, its lifeblood, all trying to squeeze through that one little opening. And what happens when that bottleneck gets clogged? The entire global system grinds to a halt.
This really puts the risk into perspective, doesn't it? A full 20%, 1/5 of the entire world's oil supply has to pass through this one narrow strait. That is a massive, massive vulnerability. Just try to imagine the chaos when that flow is suddenly shut off.
So how did we get here? Well, this didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's been a really rapid and frankly dangerous escalation. You had 2 U.S. attacks on Iran while negotiations were supposedly happening. And then, bam! President Trump issues a 48-hour ultimatum. Reopen the strait or else. That's what really pushed this whole thing to the breaking point. Okay, so let's talk numbers. What does this disruption actually mean? Well, analysts at Goldman Sachs are modeling a potential loss of over 800 million barrels of oil. Just try to wrap your head around that number. It's so huge it's almost meaningless, right? And that is exactly why every single forecast is being revised upwards so aggressively.
Now, a shock this big, it doesn't just stay put in the oil markets. Oh no. Think of it like dropping a huge boulder in a pond. The ripples immediately start spreading out, touching every single corner of the economy.
And where do we feel it first? Diesel. The prices have just exploded, jumping from under $3.80 a gallon to over $5, seemingly overnight. And why should you care? Because diesel is the fuel that powers pretty much every truck that delivers every product you buy. It is literally the lifeblood of our supply chain.
And it's not just the trucks on the ground. Look at the airlines. Jet fuel prices have nearly doubled. You've got companies like Delta and American suddenly facing an extra $400 million in costs. And guess what happens when a company gets hit with a bill like that? Yep, it gets passed right on to you and me in the form of higher ticket prices.
This is a perfect example of what economists call an invisible input cost. It sounds complicated, but it's not. You don't see diesel fuel surcharge on your grocery receipt, right? But trust me, the rising cost of that fuel is baked right into the price of your milk, your bread, your eggs. It's like a hidden tax on, well, everything.
So, let's connect the dots here. This is the really crucial part. How does some big geopolitical event happening thousands of miles away in the Persian Gulf end up hitting your wallet? Whether you're at the gas pump or the grocery store, it all comes back to this.
It's a really simple chain reaction when you break it down. Step 1, the conflict messes with the oil supply. Step 2, fuel prices for diesel and jets spike. Step 3, that makes it more expensive to truck and ship things. And step 4, the final step, you pay more for basically everything. It's a straight line from that conflict zone right to your local supermarket.
Okay, so what happens when prices just keep climbing and climbing? Well, eventually, something's got to give. People stop driving as much, they cut back on travel, they decide maybe now is not the time to buy a new car. Economists have a name for this. They call it demand destruction. And it is a huge red flag that the whole economy is about to hit the brakes.
And that right there is the big worry.
This isn't just about paying more for gas and groceries. This is about the very real possibility that this energy shock could be the thing that tips the entire U.S. and global economies into a serious downturn.
So, what happens next? Honestly, with the stakes this high, everyone is scrambling for answers. And the forecasts? They seem to be getting more and more alarming by the day.
I mean, just look at the spread here. You've got Saudi officials floating the number 180 a barrel. Citigroup thinks maybe 110 to 120 in the short term. But then you see their worst-case scenario, and that's the one that should really grab your attention. $200 a barrel.
Let's be crystal clear about something. $200 oil isn't just a recession. That's a whole other level. We're talking way beyond any all-time high we've ever seen. A price like that could trigger economic stress so deep, so widespread, that the word depression starts entering the conversation. A global depression.
You know, when you step back, this whole crisis is just a painful reminder of a much deeper problem. Our entire global energy system, and by extension, the entire global economy, is built on this incredibly fragile foundation. It all relies on a couple of key choke points in one of the most volatile regions in the world. And this event, it has just brutally ripped the cover off to show us just how fragile that system truly is.
So in the end, it really all comes down to one big, frankly terrifying question. The longer this war lasts, the longer this disruption goes on, the more the pressure builds, and the closer we all get to those worst-case scenarios becoming our actual reality.